It's the travel agent in the pocket who is always aware of what's going on, looking out for you, the customer.
Would you accept the title of world leader in CRM?
Absolutely not. Because I know there's so many more things that we should be doing that we haven't done yet that we will do. It's easier and better for both sides. We're getting the incremental person from all over the world. We're putting all this stuff in translations. We're doing all the payment stuff. We're doing all the customer service. And I don't charge them anything unless we put a head in your bed. If you think paying us that 15% is not a good business proposition, don't use us.
Let's go! Go!
Bevor es weitergeht, die allermeisten von euch, die kennen mich ausweislich dieser Zahlen hier. Allerdings haben nur ganz wenige davon ein Abo und das schmerzt, denn wir tun hier wirklich alles zweimal die Woche, die krassesten Gäste, den spannendsten Content für euch bereitzustellen und trotzdem können wir euch nicht direkt erreichen, bekommen relativ wenig Feedback und es wäre für uns eine große Hilfe, wenn ihr uns abonnieren würdet. Vielen Dank vorab. Hi Glenn.
Hi Philip, how you doing?
Thanks for taking the time. And maybe before we get into booking and all these questions, explain a little bit about, or tell us a bit about your journey into your current position. How did you end up being the CEO of Booking.com?
Okay, well, it's a long story, but I'll make it short for your listeners. So I've been at the company now 25 years. In fact, this week is my 25th year at the company. But I didn't start with Booking.com. I started with a company called Priceline.com out of the States, which was founded in the late 90s in the internet boom. And I was in charge of corporate strategy and business development. And we wanted to expand internationally. So in 2004, we bought a little company in the UK called Active Hotels. And a little while later, then we bought Booking.com and we merged them together because they're very similar companies. And Active Hotel is not a good name compared to Booking.com. So combining the companies, we called the whole thing Booking.com. And it's just been a wonderful ride for now 20 years from 2005 to now. And I was head of strategy. And at one time I was head of Europe. And over time, obviously, there were changes in management, et cetera. And in 2017, January 1, 2017, I took over as CEO of the entire group, Booking Holdings, because we have other companies besides Booking.com. We have companies like Kayak, which you may have heard of, or maybe Open Table, and a bunch of others. And then in 2019, I took over the actual operational role, CEO of Booking.com too. I wanted to have the responsibility of directing the Booking.com company in the direction that I thought was the best way to go.
I mean, so you're with it basically since the early beginnings. I mean, you've watched or managed this like impressive ride from a small company to one of the most valuable companies now here in Europe. What were the maybe like 1, 2, 3 most important turning points or breakthroughs that you achieved to get into that position? I mean, as a company.
Yeah, no, and you're right. It's been an interesting journey. So just to give you an example of how much of an interesting ride it's been. When I first joined the company in 2000, we'd come out of the internet boom and we were a public company in 2000. And the stock prices of internet companies dropped significantly. We were down to what essentially was below $1 a share. Our market capitalization was a few $100 million. We actually had more cash in our bank account than the market value of the company in 2000. Okay? And from then, it was so bad, we had to do a reverse split where we basically had people give us 6 shares and we gave them 1 back so we could get the stock price above $1 because we would be delisted otherwise. So from that to now, the stock price today, close to $5,000. That's 800 times. That's a compound annual growth rate of over 30% each year for a quarter of a century. So it's been a wonderful ride, but it wasn't linear. It wasn't like each year went back up, up, up. No, there are good things and then there are terrible things. So sure, the dot-com implosion was bad, but 9/11 in the States with the terrorist attack stopped travel. That's really bad for a travel company when they ground all the planes. And then, so we start coming back. But then all of a sudden you end up with the unfortunate events of the great global financial crisis. And that was very bad. And then we start coming back, but then you end up with other issues like, for example, the volcano in Iceland that grounded travel in Europe, if you remember when is the volcano going to stop? And all sorts of things. And then the worst thing of all, of course, the pandemic. And the pandemic, which stopped travel completely. And we actually had some days in the early days of negative revenue. Negative revenue, what's that? That means you are refunding more than you're getting new sales. So your revenue is actually negative. That's horrible. But through it all, we've kept an eye on one thing, is make it better for the customer. Our mission is to make it easier for everybody to experience the world, and keeping our eye on the prize, on that as our role. That's what we're here to do. And we won't worry about the short-term events. We'll just continue to try and improve the process for the consumer. On one hand is a traveler, but we have another type of customer. That's our partners. That's the hotels. And now we do more things than hotels. We do flights, we do car rentals, we do other travel things, but always thinking, how can we add value to both sides of the marketplace? And that's our goal. So whether, there are going to be events in travel, there are always going to be things that are going to be bad. But as long as we continue to try and improve the product, we're going to do okay.
I mean, the business model is pretty simple in the end. I mean, you have a website or a platform. People look for a hotel and book the hotel via your platform, and then you get a share of the hotel price from the hotel. That's in very simple terms.
That is absolutely the correct thing. And there's something very important in what you say to make sure everybody understands this. We don't set the prices by the hoteliers. The hotels put their inventory on our platform if they want to. They don't have to. And they can put as many hotels in rooms as they want or not. And they choose the price. And we list that price either on our website, on our app, on the mobile phone. And that is the price that the hotelier decides they want to sell it at. We do not set it, they do. In addition, and this is important, it used to be that we would just then send off an invoice to the hotel after the person stayed and say, okay, could you please send us our commission for the stay? And that's how we got paid. The interesting thing, of course, is a lot of people would come to our site and they look and use essentially all the things that we put onto our site so someone can make a good choice, and then they don't actually book with us. So we don't get paid for that. But of course, it's a lot of money because we're putting all the content on the site. We had to put the photos on, do 40 different language translations we were doing. We still do it. And fortunately now we can do it, using AI and things. Back in the day, we had human beings who were doing the translation at the start, doing all this work and then spending a tremendous amount of money marketing, spending a lot of money with Google to get people to come to the site. And we did all that, and we didn't charge the hoteliers anything at all. We said, all we ask is put the inventory with us, please. And if we get you a customer who pays you, we would like to get a small commission for the effort there. So it was a risk-free proposition to the hoteliers. And over time, it's worked out it's a very fair and a very good thing. It's worked out really well for us. And that's why we are now, about $160 billion market cap company, because we're providing a good service.
I mean, if that was a German company, I think it would be the second largest company in Germany, just behind SAP.
You're right, because I've looked at that. You are correct. We'd be number 2 in Germany.
How much of the hotel market do you service here in Germany? Let's take that as an example. I mean, if like all the hotels that exist is 100%, how many do you service?
Well, first thing is, so we don't disclose publicly in terms of how many hotels by different geographic areas. But I think here's the thing is, I think most hoteliers in Germany are well aware of our service, but not everybody wants to play with us, and that's okay. I would prefer everybody did, but hoteliers get to choose whether or not they want to put their inventory with us or not, and they choose to do it or not do it different times. So, for example, if it's the high season in the summer, and let's say we're down in Freiburg, let's say, okay, popular in the summer, Black Forest, people like to go there, right? Well, a hotelier may say, We don't need you. Thank you very much. We have a lot of people coming through directly to our site. We don't need you, Booking.com. And then they don't give us the inventory, or they give us very few rooms. That's okay. That's their choice. And by the way, it's not just hotels. We want to also make sure everyone's aware. We have a very, very strong position in what's called alternative accommodations. Those would be homes or villas or apartments. Obviously, our biggest competitor there would be Airbnb. But so it's really accommodation. So it's a broad spread of it, and people know it. But I would say that we have a lot of hoteliers in Germany do like to use our service. So it's a very high percentage, let's say.
And if they decide to work with you, can you share a little bit about the commission model? I mean, you pay them, or they pay you after they have already received the money from the customer itself. But then, how much of the price do they owe?
Well, so again, generally speaking, we talk publicly, and you can look at our numbers and get it. The base case type thing is in the mid-teens percentage. So if somebody pays 100 euros, we pick a round number, say approximately 15 euros we would get. Here's interesting to think about that, though. It's actually really valuable to a hotelier or an accommodation person to get that room sold. Because if a room ends up with no one in it that night, that's zero revenue, obviously, easy. But the thing is, if you do fill that room, almost all the revenue will go to the bottom line and be profit, because the hotel has a lot of fixed costs, but not a lot of variable costs. They have to pay, obviously, for the staff. Well, they're going to pay that no matter how many people are in the hotel. And they're going to have to pay, if they took out a mortgage, they had to borrow money to buy the hotel or to build it. That's money interest they will pay to the bank. That's a fixed cost. And other things are all mostly fixed. In a hotel, it has very few variable costs. So almost all of the money in the incremental business we provide to that hotel will go to the bottom line. So maybe they pay us, let's say, for example, 15 euros. The other 85, almost all of that is going to go to profit. And that's why it's a valuable thing. But again, not everybody uses it. And going back to the share thing, which is interesting, and we are a big company, sure, 166 billion US dollars worth of volume last year in 2024 for all of our services that we did globally. So that's hotels and it's flights and it's car, everything, 166 billion. Here's the interesting thing though. Yes, we're very big, but the travel business globally, nobody knows the exact number, but different studies round off, call it $3 trillion. $3 trillion. So if we do easy math in our head, let's do it and say a little more than 5%. 150 billion would be 5% of 3 trillion. We're a little bit north of that, but let's just round off and call it 5%. So yes, we are a big company, but as a share of the market, we're very small. And look at another industry, right? Let's take the auto industry, for example. Let's take Volkswagen Group, which is German headquartered. Volkswagen is about 15% of the global, approximately 15% of the global automobile industry globally, right? But nobody would say Volkswagen dominates huge. They'd say, yeah, big, but there are a lot of ways you can buy a car. Same thing for us. Yes, we're big in the travel business, but there are tremendous ways to do travel. So that's an opportunity for us.
I mean, there's still like sometimes discussions or like frustration on the hotelier side. I mean, they complain that the share they have to pay is too high, and that maybe without a Booking.com in the world, they would have the guest anyways. I mean, would you say that's not true because you drive additional customers, or is it maybe in some cases it is a way of maybe even a tax that somebody is like looking for a hotel in Freiburg or somewhere else and it's gonna go naturally through you because you're just naturally there, and then people think Booking.com is just the default way of booking a hotel, and it's not an extra customer that you're providing.
That absolutely is an argument made. It's primarily made by the hotel associations when they talk to government regulators trying to explain why regulators should give a favor to the hoteliers and do something that would take away money from Booking.com. Absolutely. Let's talk about facts instead of fiction that is put together by associations. And I really want to point that out. That's associations, because we have a tremendous number of hoteliers with great relationships who say how much they value and appreciate it. And again, remember, no hotel has to do business with us. And really important is, what is our share? Do you know, in Europe, which is our most popular area in Europe, and I've said this many times publicly, our share of hotel rooms in Europe, maybe 15% approximately. Think of that, 15, 1-5. And then you have somebody come out and say, we're a dominant player. And I say this, and these are regulators. And I will say to them, I said, okay, well, let's just talk about this. Do you feel that you have no way to get a hotel except through Booking.com? In fact, could you show me how you booked your rooms over the last 5 years? I just want to go through the record. Could you? Oh, I can't tell you that. I'm not going to show you that. No, please, really, do you mind? Could you give me permission, because there are privacy rules? Can I go through our database and see, did you book all the time with us? And we all know the truth to that answer. We know that's not true. And we know that because we only do 15%, which is absurd. Now, the claim by the Hotel Association says it's unfair and Booking.com is taking money that we would have gotten anyway. And I say, that's why this is totally voluntary. If you think paying us that 15% is not a good business proposition, don't use us. Nobody's forcing you to do this. Why? And any business person would only do it if they actually had a benefit from it, right? Here's another thing. So wait a minute, Glenn. I think, though, we would get those people otherwise. And I say, really? You're going to do the translation to 40 different languages? I noticed you had some customers who came to your nice hotel from China last week. You're going to do Chinese translation? Oh, wait a minute. Wait. You know, we do 24/7 customer service in Chinese. So you're going to do customer service in Chinese 24/7? Really? I don't think so. Oh, by the way, now we move from just being an agency player into what we call a merchant player, where we'll take the money from the traveler and then we'll give the money to the hotelier. Why do we do that? Because it's easier and better for both sides. Well, why would that be easier? Well, that Chinese customer I just talked about, he likes to pay in Alipay or WeChat Pay. And I say to the small hotelier in Freiburg, I say, excuse me, are you going to take Alipay? Are you going to take WeChat Pay? And they're like, what the heck is Alipay? What's WeChat? or excuse me, I have a customer from India. They want to pay in Paytm. Do you have Paytm? They're coming from, let's say, I don't know, let's say Ethiopia, Africa. M-Pesa. Do you have M-Pesa? I can go, do you know we take payments in 40 different forms. And then this nice hotelier would really like to have the money in euros in their bank account, and we will put euros in their bank account. So I'm taking the stuff in M-Pesa, I'm putting it there, and by the way, we're doing it for less money than it would be if they had told, please give us a Visa credit card, because the interchange amount of money that a hotelier has to pay to Visa is more expensive than the way we're doing. So we're saving money for them. So we're getting the incremental person from all over the world. Okay? We're putting all this stuff in translations. We're doing all the payment stuff. We're doing all the customer service. We do everything I just said. And I don't charge them not a cent, not a pence, not a yen. I don't charge anything unless we put a head in your bed. This is a good proposition. But hoteliers, they'll go to the hotel association, goes to the regulator and say, it's so unfair. Look how rich they are. And here's the thing, though. And here's the thing is, by the way, if I were them, why not? Why not do that? Doesn't cost a lot of money. I'll write some letters. I have to pay the hotel association has to have a reason for being. If I'm in charge of the hotel association, what is my role? My role is to make it better for my members who have paid me money for my salary. What can I do? I can go to a person, whether in Berlin or in Brussels, and I can say, "Oh, those bad people, please, could you do something so we get some more money?" And by the way, I like to make that same argument against Google. Except the but the difference is Google is dominant. That's the difference.
I mean, I was going to ask you. I mean, maybe what's still like for new or surprising to some people and some onlookers on that situation is like the beauty from a business perspective of a global marketplace. I mean, you've built a marketplace. And the dynamics of a marketplace, especially in the digital world, they're quite strong. I mean, there can't be too many marketplaces by definition in the world, especially in the digital world. There can't be too many. And if you lead the most powerful one, or like the marketplace that leads in a certain industry, a certain sector, that has a huge relevance. And I think many people, even though they maybe work in digital or they come from the business world, they don't understand how strong or how perfect the situation is if you are in charge of a marketplace. And in the end, Booking has that. It has achieved that, and many other companies have achieved it in their verticals. And that's just the beauty of it.
Yeah, it's interesting what you're saying. And look, we do. I don't doubt we have a good company. We provide a good service. But the interesting about our marketplace, unlike, say, for example, a Google, our marketplace is one of the most competitive, if not the most competitive marketplace I can think of. Why? Because there is almost no cost to do it somewhere else. So yes, we get people who come to us and they use us and they then buy with us, and that's great, and that's how we make our money. But when you look at the actual data, a very small percentage of the people who come to our site actually buy with us. They use us, but then they buy somewhere else. So they look all through the search and they'll look at the hotels, like, oh, I want that one. And then they'll go, for example, directly to the hotel. And we don't get paid anything for that. Or they'll go to one of our competitors. In fact, there's studies that show the number of different sites that a person goes to before they actually buy, and different studies have different numbers, but it's multiple things. In fact, I could even ask you, many people feel that before I buy, I want to look at some other sites. So the only way that we actually get that sale is not because of some sort of inherent power, as some people would say. It's because we actually are providing a better service, because either we're able to provide it easier, that they actually trust us, that we'll do the customer service. And by the way, as I mentioned, the hotelier puts the price on our site. We don't put the price there. We got a good price because the hotelier wanted to get that sale. Again, it's one of these things where there's a misunderstanding. I think there's some people obviously have a bias because it's in their nature, because it's good for their particular role to try and promote what their story is, which is not true, but I understand why they promote it. At the end of the day, though, the facts are, and it's a beautiful headline that the FT, the Financial Times of London, put out, which I love when I had an interview, and it said, we have to fight for a booking every day. Because, and everybody knows this, if you want to buy somewhere else, it's real easy to do it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, when you just spoke about your own situation with Google, I mean, I sensed a little, let's say, frustration is maybe too strong, but I mean, it's still a difficult situation. I mean, I guess a lot of your business comes through Google, and you're probably spending, I would guess, maybe almost billions on Google every year. Explain that situation a little bit, because usually that's where the booking journey starts. It starts on Google, and then it goes through you, and then goes to the hotel.
Yeah, actually, it's a smaller amount than you would think. We actually put out some numbers in our most recent earnings call with our investors, and we talked about how we have about a mid 60% of our business comes to us direct. Now, that's not counting our B2B business, B2B being we have relationships with, like, say, a bank or an airline. So take that away. In our business to consumer, about mid 60% come to us directly, not through a Google. We do get a nice piece of business coming from Google. That's absolutely right. I don't deny that. And the billions you mentioned is absolutely correct. My frustration is not with Google per se. They provide it's a good service for us. We spend money to Google's. Google provides us with customers who come to us, and it's competitive. We have to bid to get our ad onto the Google site. My frustration, much more so, is with regulators who consider us to be a dominant position, just like Google. But Google has a 90-something% market share in search. We have like a 15%. That's my problem, is when people are putting us together in the same area. That's where my biggest frustration comes from.
That's what happened. I mean, if you look at the European Commission that put out those Digital Market Act definitions recently, and you are a gateway company, and so is Google, and that's what you're referring to, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And when you think about it, and look, this is done pretty much. Digital Markets Act is out there, and we obey the rules, and we are following it. But I am still somewhat bemused and think, how could anybody put us into the list? 7 companies are called gateway companies. And it's Google, $1 trillion marketplace. It's Meta, $1 trillion marketplace. It's Apple, $1 trillion marketplace. It's Amazon, $1 trillion marketplace, blah, blah. 7 companies, all except one, $1 trillion. Which one's not us? We are a fraction of the size, and we have a very, very competitive marketplace. All of these things. How that could have happened is just beyond belief. And more so, people wonder, why did this happen? How could this happen when Europe is trying to develop a technology space to be competitive? Why would we come out with a regulatory framework that is so detrimental to the one European tech company that is trying to create something of, good for our society? It's mind-boggling, and I get between frustrated and just disappointed. It didn't have to be this way.
Do you think that the general landscape of where people start their journey or start their search is about to change anyways? Maybe now that there's ChatGPT and all these new options. I mean, is this like journey cemented for the next years, or do you feel that it's maybe changing and the whole discussion is going to be different anyways?
You make such a great point, Philip. I mean, this is so perfect what you just said. And this is one of my arguments with the regulators in Brussels over the years. Is regulators are always looking backwards, and they're always behind the curve. And you can go back to the United States with some of the big antitrust regulatory issues. And way back, there was a company still around called IBM, which was a giant computer company. And there was an antitrust issue with the government and with IBM. It went on for many, many years, a decade or something. The government saying they are too big, they have control of the marketplace, et cetera, et cetera. Meanwhile, all these other smaller companies were coming up elsewhere. And instead of IBM's big business, which was the mainframe computers, and really wasn't in some of the other areas, the other companies came up beyond them. And all of a sudden, you didn't have to worry about it anymore. Similar Microsoft. And there was the long antitrust thing against Microsoft, saying they're too big, they have a control on the operating system. And then what happens is, while that's all happening, the internet comes and you end up with other companies that start coming up like a Google, et cetera, right? And now we have Google, that's this big thing. But as you point out, now we have these other things coming up with these generative AI models, either it be OpenAI's ChatGPT or things. And as you say, will people use that as their launch pad to get answers that they want instead of Google and search? And I think it is a very interesting question. How will that play or not? Nobody really knows yet, but certainly the growth of the usage of something like ChatGPT is going up exponentially, which is why we have partnered with OpenAI. We are one of the founding partners with OpenAI in what is their new system called Operator, which is an agentic AI system that enables a new way for people to get things done using AI. Point that's really important is yours, is that things keep changing so rapidly while the regulators continue to try and regulate the past instead of looking forward and creating the guidelines that will help make a good path forward. And it's so disappointing. And I understand the frustrations because people say, well, we don't know how to regulate this thing because it's so new and it's changing so quickly. But I look at it, and I look at the EU's AI Act. That's the EU AI Act that is now in operation to regulate AI. And I think even people in Brussels now have begun to realize, hey, wait a minute, what we don't want to do is stifle development of innovative things here in AI and cause us to fall further and further behind. That's something that is very, very important. And we are working with our friends in Brussels to try and make sure that we don't end up in a situation where we make the economies even worse here. It's really sad.
But do you see, like a growing percentage of people coming to your website or to your app through ChatGPT? Is that already noticeable? Like
You can't notice it because ChatGPT is not set up a way to have a direct link where people spill over. But it will be interesting. How will people monetize what are very expensive processes? Let's face it, every time we go onto ChatGPT and ask a question, have ChatGPT do something for us, that costs ChatGPT a lot of money when we're doing it, if we're doing it for free. So it's interesting how that'll play out. But I think it's good to go back to your previous question a little bit about how things are going to develop in AI. And this is something that I'm pleased, as I talked a couple of weeks ago about this, I'm pleased to see that the people in charge in Brussels are recognizing that maybe we've done a little bit of overregulation. And that is one reason, there are a lot of reasons, one reason why Europe has not developed the same level of technological advances that have come in other parts of the world, particularly in the States, China, other places. And that has hurt us here in terms of growth of our economies. When we look at our economy here in Europe and we compare it to the States over the last 20 years, the difference is night and day. Now, is it because the Americans are smarter? Absolutely not. I can assure you that's not the reason. Is it because there aren't good universities in Europe? That absolutely is not the problem. So what are the problems? And I think a little bit of it is the regulatory framework. And for example, on this operator system that we are the founding partners with OpenAI, and it's launched, and it's in America and stuff. But do you know, OpenAI has not brought it out to Europe yet. Now, I do not know that the reason is because they're concerned about regulatory issues. I do not know that. But I wonder, is that why they've held back from giving it to Europe? And by the way, most of my engineers, most of my AI specialists, most of the people who are working on this are in Amsterdam. They can't even get access to it. Is that not crazy? Or something like you get Apple says, we're not bringing certain AI things to Europe because the regulator, they made that very public, right? That means that my engineer, people here in Amsterdam can't play with it, can't work with it, can't see, how can we develop something? This is a big issue. Now, I understand, I hear the politicians, I hear people say, well, we want to be careful and we don't want to, I get it. I understand that we all want to maintain an understanding that we have to have a balance and do things the right way. But again, I wonder if the balance hasn't, in fact, I'm sure it has. It went too far in the regulatory framework, and I believe that is one factor among several that has hurt us in terms of our economy in Europe.
Is your company perception a European company? Is it a Dutch company? Is it a global company? What would you say is your own perception inside the company?
My belief is this. We are trying to make the world better. Our mission says it very clearly. It's making it easier for everybody to experience the world. We don't say to help Europeans experience Europe. We don't say to help Americans. No, we say everybody experience the world. Now, most of our employees of our global workforce, the majority of them are here in Europe, building their lives here. making things better here, paying taxes here. Okay, trying to create something that will help build and create more jobs and such. But, and I've said this very clearly, business can operate anywhere in the world, particularly when you are a digital company. If you're a mining company and your mine is in a place where, let's say you bring up lithium that's good to help make the world greener because you help make batteries, okay? If the lithium is in a particular country, well, your business is going to be there because you're digging there, okay? When you're a digital company, you can do your business anywhere from anywhere. And we found this out from the pandemic. And I am fearful that too many businesses in Europe, because of the regulatory framework, because of how difficult it is to do certain types of business operation, I am fearful that many of them will invest and do invest in other parts of the world because it's easier and more profitable and better to do it there. And that is really hard. And by the way, it's going to get even worse, I suspect, given things that are going on right now in terms of trade issues between different countries, et cetera. My fear is it's going to be even harder for us to be successful here in Europe. And when we're not successful here in Europe, it's bad for everybody.
Mm. Who's your biggest competitor?
Well, we have so many, the list is endless. Now, the first biggest group of competitors, everybody says, oh, it's like Expedia, right? Or Airbnb, right? Or Trip.com from China, which actually has more volume than us actually last year. I believe they did more total travel than we did. But you know something? That's not really the biggest competitor per se, because as I always say, the biggest way people get a hotel, which is the biggest part of our business by far, is people go to the hotel direct, right? The hotels get most of their business direct. Our portion, the online portion of people who's a third party like us, is a relatively small portion total, of which then we get a portion of that part of the pie. And then you think, well, Google's a huge competitor because people go to Google and then they go direct. So that's a big competitor. So we have so many competitors. It's unbelievable. But at the end of the day, to win, you still have to provide it's just one thing, and it's the way to win against everybody, and that is provide a better service. And that to get people to come to us direct, get them to understand why it's better and think it's better with us, and then hopefully they come back again directly to us so we don't have to pay money to Google. It's same thing with the hoteliers. They don't want to pay money to us. We don't want to pay money to Google.
How much of your effort there is the strength and the quality of the product itself, and how much is the brand and the fact that people know about Booking and that they know you exist and they search for you, they trust you, and all these brand related challenges or brand related, in the end, searches or like arguments that convince the person to work with you. I mean, one of the huge levers to your business is having a strong brand, a known brand, a brand people trust.
Well, what is brand, right? So we can get an interesting conversation. What does brand really mean? And trust is by far a huge thing because brand trust brings all things together. You trust that you're going to get a good price. You trust that the information they're giving to you is true and accurate. You trust that when you put the payment through, it's going to actually end up in the right place and they're not going to take it, steal it from you. You trust, and this is really important in travel because things go wrong in travel a lot. Weather's a big issue, mechanical issues on planes, things go bad. You trust that somebody is going to fix the problem for you quickly. That, if you provide that then you build that trust, and then people do come to you, and someone can say, well, it's because of your brand, but that brand is encompassing all the things. I'll give an example of someone who really has great brand value in the States and some parts of the world, Amazon. When I go to buy something online, I don't look around and say, where else should I buy it? Should I go to there's a big company called Walmart, it's global. Do I buy it from Walmart online? No. Why do I go to Amazon? Well, because I've done enough business with Amazon that I trust that it'll be a good price. I trust that they will do it right and the package will arrive on time. And if it doesn't, they'll fix it. And by the way, they have an incredible selection, a really wide selection of things. So for us having a wide selection of hotels or homes to be able to provide the right one to the right person. And by the way, Amazon does a great job of pushing to me right up front the things I want, the same way we do that for our customers. Look, I love the fact when I go to our own site at booking.com, I'm seeing the hotels and homes that I would want to buy. They're not showing me the stuff that would not be of interest to me. When I was much younger, and poorer, much poorer, and I would travel, I would go for the 1-star hotel or the 2-star hotel. Okay? I assure you, I am never staying in a 1-star hotel ever again in my life. I will not travel for that. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm older and I'm not doing it. Okay? So I love the fact that I see the 3 stars, the 4 stars, and the 5 stars, because those are the ones I actually stay at. And when you do that personalization, look, what I want us to be is like that old style human travel agent. I'm old enough to remember that person. That person knew a lot about my family. They really did, because we did work with her for a long time. And she kind of knew what we could afford. Okay? And she kind of knew what we liked. And she put together, here's some choices for you. And which one would you like? We'd have a conversation. And then she would say, okay, and we'd say, okay. And then we would give her one payment, a check, which a lot of people, all your listeners are young. They probably don't even know what a check is, where you write it. Probably don't know what I'm talking about. But so you give her this check, and then it's done. And God forbid anything went wrong. You just called her and she made it all right. And it was wonderful. Well, using digital technology, using the power now of all the beautiful things, especially now, generative AI, it's going to be so much better. I want you to imagine this. Imagine the case where you are traveling and you have the phone in your pocket and you are, let's say you're in Amsterdam, okay? And we say, we know that you like museums and you're very near the Rijksmuseum. We happen to have a special offer for you Friday, because they would like, and we've done this agreement with the museum, we do this with them, say, would you like incremental demand? And they give us a special price. And we push it out to you because we know you're there because you're booking with us. And we say, would you like to go to the Rijksmuseum on Friday? Because we have a special price. And then all you do is press yes. It's like a travel agent in your pocket, but it gets even better. Because we also know we got a canal ride for you on Thursday, which is really nice. Let's say it's Tuesday and you're all set. But Tuesday night, we send a message to you, say, Philip, we noticed the weather forecast for Thursday is rain. Not surprising, it's Amsterdam. However, it's also going to be sunny on Friday. Not as often. What we think would be a good idea is to switch the Rijksmuseum ticket for Thursday and take the boat canal on Friday. If you'd like to do that, just press yes, and we'll handle it all for you. Okay, and I can go through so many examples of so many things that we are going to do in the future that will make life so much better, that will make it so much easier for that traveler, and make so many opportunities for the supplier to be able to get incremental demand by working with us, and we will help them so they are providing the right price at the right time to the right customer. So we're providing value to both sides of the equation, and this is a win-win-win. Good for the traveler, good for the supplier, and good for our business.
I mean, I understand, your intense work on the product, as you just described. But still, every person, or like every little percentage of traffic that's going to you directly and not coming through a different channel has a huge impact on your bottom line. You spend so much on marketing, and that it's so difficult to get people to come to your platform given all the competition and Google and all that. So you must be thinking many hours about how to get more direct traffic, how to get the brand to be more popular, more known. And my perception from afar is you've built the brand mostly on the product and on performance marketing. We know you since you're there on Google for ages now, and you've used the product, but it's not like it at least doesn't seem that you really try hard to like spend a lot of money on crazy marketing stunts, on building like what we call it, like a classic, like a luxury brand type of feeling around you, like where you go out and really try to establish this whole new thing, this playful brand. this is not your game, it seems.
Well, I mean, I assume you saw some of our branding during some of the football tournaments where, we do show up very well. So we do that marketing too. Look, here's the thing. One of the points I'm very careful is you mentioned about spending a lot of money with Google. The interesting thing is, so we do spend a huge amount and people, we pay when they click on us. That's when you pay Google and they come and it goes back to what I said earlier. But they don't buy. A small percentage buy. Now, you're right. So one of the critical things for us is if we spent the money for somebody to come to us, how do we make sure they actually buy now they landed on our page? That is very important. How can you do that? And how do you arrange it so it makes it easier for somebody to buy? What are the blockers? What's holding it back? And we have been working on this for a long time, and we are very good at it. But it's not just Google. So we talked about this in our earnings call about how the social networks like Meta, for example, are becoming much more important. And we're doing some things with them that is very one-on-one, working with them, our team working with their teams, coming up with new ways to try and make it easier and better for customers who are on a Meta site, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, that they are then going to come to us and buy there also. And that is something that we mentioned. So there are lots of different ways. And by the way, again, regulators saying how terrible Google is. I haven't spoken to the people at Google about this, but I am certain when they're talking to the European regulators, I am certain they're saying, please, don't you understand how many people are going to TikTok and are going to Instagram and we're losing our share because they're going there? And that's true what they're saying, by the way.
But I mean, would you say my perception is fair that you are like very conversion focused on your side and you're like performance focused? And I mean, it's just a different style, and I'm trying to understand if that's true. If your style is being like that product-led company, that conversion-focused organization, and not so much an organization that tries to create a brand, as we know that from maybe the luxury world, or maybe even an Airbnb comes across a little more like on the playful side. Let's put it that way.
Well, I would respectfully disagree with you because I think we're slicing too tightly. I mean, at the end of the day, yes, of course, conversion is important, but what the most important thing is being customer centric, providing better that's what it's all about at the end of the day. And sure, part of that is by creating a product that converts well but at the end of the day, you want it so people will come back and continue to use your business. And whether you are a very expensive luxury brand type company or you're somebody day to day, at the end of the day, you're trying to provide value to the person who is going to purchase from you. And of course, we have to do it for two sides. We got the traveler and we got the supplier. We got to provide value to both sides. That's where we're really oriented to, is providing better customer value. And that's it. So sure, I understand in terms of, Airbnb doesn't do as much performance marketing as we do. But that's more because I would make the assumption, I don't know this, but I assume the reason they don't is because it doesn't convert well for them. Now, I don't know if that's because of, I don't know if it's the capabilities in performance marketing or it's their product or not. I let them talk about their business the way they want to. I would say for ourselves, though, we go wherever the customer is. If the customer's on Google, we'll spend money there to try and get them to come here. If they are on Instagram, we'll go there. If they are on TikTok, we'll go there. And we'll go wherever the customer is, including things like putting, on the pitch in the football tournaments down there so you can see our name there so people will remember who we are.
I mean, I'm on record that I mentioned at a presentation or a keynote a couple of years ago already, like that you are the world class in CRM, customer relationship management. It seems like you, with the notification, the emails, nobody does it better, and also nobody does it more intense. I mean, once I'm like in your database, it feels like nobody's getting more out of my email address and out of the transaction I've done with you than booking. I mean, you are like right there selling me a rental car, right there trying to upsell me, trying to like sell me another room. Would you say, is that a core strength of you? Would you accept the title of world leader in CRM?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Because I know there's so many more things that we should be doing that we haven't done yet that we will do. And I gave you that example with the canal in the Rijksmuseum in Sweden. Have you ever gotten a notification like that? Have you ever gotten a message like that? Of course not, because we haven't done it yet. But there's so many more things to do. I mean, for example, when you're going to the airport for your flight, right? Sometimes, occasionally, you'll get a message from the airline that says your plane is going to be delayed by 3 hours, right? Okay, that's not very helpful. Really not that helpful, okay? But what I want us to be doing is saying, your flight's going to be delayed 3 hours. However, there is another flight that will leave an hour earlier than this delayed flight. Would you like us to switch it for you? The cost will be X, or there'll be no cost, or as a favor, because you are a Genius Level 3. Genius is our loyalty program. Because you're a Genius Level 3, we'll do it for you for free. And that way, would you like that? If you'd like that, just press yes, and we'll do everything for you. There are so many communications. Look, again, it's the travel agent in the pocket who is always aware of what's going on, looking out for you, the customer, and able to make the changes or suggest changes to you that will make your life easier and better. Another example that, and I'm going off your question about customer communications, I'm going into a different area which also deals a lot with customers, and that goes customer service. I mean, what is more frustrating than having a problem and you say, and you call on the phone and you go on hold waiting for a customer service agent to come on, and you wait, and then you wait some more, and then you wait some more, and then they finally come on, and then they tell you, oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to transfer you to another person. And then you wait some more. And then it's horrific. It's terrible. Okay. I think we do a very good job in not doing that like other people do it, but I still know it's not anywhere near where I want it to be. And one of the great things about generative AI coming out is it's going to make it so that that problem is going to go away. And we're working very hard on that. Why? Because using generative AI and all that, we can understand what the issues are and be able to answer all that using a virtual agent. Okay? So we don't need to staff up more and more human beings. We can do it so that every single person who calls it's answered immediately. Because it's just, you just need more compute time. That's not a problem. And that is a way that over the next couple of years, we're going to see just such tremendous changes in so many different ways that we do our lives. That's going to be so much easier. And I'll tell you, in terms of frustrations for me, customer service improvement, I'll put that right near the top of the list.
You just mentioned like all these the boat trip in Venice or on like those little experiences that you can do in a city next to just staying at a hotel. That sounds like a business that a German entrepreneur has built that's been on the podcast a few months ago. Johannes Reck, his business called Get Your Guide. Is that something that you also can imagine including into booking? Is that like an area that maybe you're going to compete with the guys?
All right. So a couple of things. So Johannes and I are old friends from way back, from before he started his business, and he made a pitch, and I talked about when he wanted to start that business. So I have great admiration for what he and his partner have done. Really good business, and I can't say enough about what he has done. Great. Here's the thing: we do attractions too. We've been doing attractions for a very long time and building it up. It is a relatively smaller portion of the business, but we are just beginning to really ramp up in that. But it's so critical because nobody goes to a hotel or a home so they can spend the week in the room. Okay? Nobody does that. Nobody. Unless maybe you're sick, but you don't. You want to do stuff, right? So we want to make sure we're the person there to be able to offer everything and be able to do it. And we partner with a lot of people and we do it ourselves and with other people. And it's really important because that is the vision of what I call our connected trip. It's bring all aspects of travel in one place that ties it all together. So it's easier, convenient, one payment. And you get all special value out of it. We can give different benefits. And as you continue to do more business with us and you go up the tiers in our Genius Loyalty program, you get more and more benefits. And attractions is an absolutely core part of the connected trip, along with all the other, like insurance. Trip insurance is important for a lot of people when you're traveling. You want to make sure you have the good health insurance and insurance if something goes wrong with your travel. all sorts. So we have that too. And then the ground transportation, that's really important. Whether you're going to rent a car or you want to have a taxi, we have those things too going. Flights, very important. All the different types of accommodations, on and on and on. These are services that we have and have been building and continue, but tying it all together is what's going to make it so beautiful. And you say, well, when's it going to happen? And I say, not tomorrow, because these things are not easy to do. If it was easy, it'd already be done. It's not easy. But on the other hand, that's helpful. And as a big company with the resources we have, with the new technologies, with AI, we will be able to provide just something that is going to be just so much better than it's been in the past. Look, I've been traveling now, 40 years I've been traveling, okay? And I've seen the wonderful difference that happened, 40 years ago. My God, when I first went to Asia, you have no idea what it's like to come across the world to try and do travel, and just incredible difference. Now, I have this phone. I can do so many different things. So we made great progress, but there's still so much more to be done.
Is there one single thing that you'd like to see happen? I mean, if you had a wish list, and what's the number one maybe challenge or concern or like jump that you would like to take? I mean, is it probably not the attractions, maybe the CRM side, maybe like lifting up the brand, maybe like implementing Gen AI correctly? I mean, what's the strongest focus field right now?
So when we talk about our priorities, et cetera, where we're driving, one of the things I don't like doing is giving away my competitors our playbook, where we're concentrating the most on. But you hear me talk about how important the connected trip as a big vision is, to get as fast as we can, because I believe that is transformational from how we travel, put our travel together in the past to what it'll be in the future. One. Two, the potential of generative AI is just fantastic. I mean, it's going to make so many differences. And whether it is the customer service examples I was giving, or making our coders more efficient internally, or all aspects of business, making it easier, but it's on the consumer side too. So for example, I'll give you one little example that's so exciting to think about. So let's say, for example, I'm an American and I want to go to London and I like to go to gyms. I like to work out. And my spouse, let's say she likes afternoon tea. Okay. So in the old days, you can look on the site and I could click fitness center to make sure that I'm going to see only hotels that have fitness centers, right? And maybe it all says afternoon tea in London. So I could click that too on a filter. Okay, that's it. And then I'll see a whole bunch of different hotels, and there'll be content about the hotels, description of the hotels, et cetera. That information about the hotels is static. It's not dynamic. It's put in there. We worked it together. We got the information from the hotels. We put it in there. It's all dynamic. But imagine with generative AI, what I'm going to see is content that is being created based on what I'm looking for. So every single hotel that shows up, it'll be ones that have good gyms and good high tea, but it'll be talking about that right up front, maybe showing the photos of that right up front, because it's using generative AI to create that content right in front of you. That's going to be transformative, and the conversion rate will go much higher because I'm getting exactly what I want. I'll know which one it is. It'll be right there. We're already doing a little thing we've already done. We talk about it. So instead of having to use the filters I just mentioned, at Booking.com, you can just type in natural language. Hi, I'm going to London with my spouse. We like gyms and high tea. Could you please show us hotels? You're laughing. We already have that. That's up and running. You can do that. Now, we don't have the dynamic production of the content coming back. It's still using the static information. But we're going. I'm telling you, it's going to be just so different and good.
Do you think that all these developments in AI lead to less employment at Booking at some point? I mean, I hear Sebastian, who runs Klarna, also a European digital company that of relevance from Sweden. He talks a lot about like how AI has already helped him reduce his workforce in customer service, etc. Is that something that you see as well at Booking? Is that going to also like reduce cost for you?
I'm smiling because I know Sebastian. I've been reading his stuff. Is that coming out and how much improvements they've gotten in their company?
Exactly.
Right. Here's an interesting thing about this. This is not a Booking.com issue. This is a societal problem, a societal issue. And this is something that's been happening for a long, long time. Hundreds and hundreds of years. As technology advances and society changes, how do we deal with the ramifications of those changes? So we can go back a couple hundred years to the UK in northern part of England, where there were people who were weaving. And the weaving was done by hand. But then they started coming with these automatic looms that did automatic weaving. And obviously, some people were upset because they're going to lose their job potentially. And there's a thing called the Luddites who came out as an organization and basically they started then smashing. It was violence, smashing the machines and trying to stop this progress because of the concern of what was going to happen to their jobs. Okay, not an unreasonable thing for people to be upset about that. Just look at the change in agriculture. So most people 100 years ago, a couple hundred years ago, a few hundred years ago, were working on farms. Well, agricultural efficiency went up. You didn't need as many farmers, and people were moving to the city to get jobs in the city, and that was a transformation of society. All of these type of changes, though, happened over a relatively long period of time. Okay? The issue is right now that the pace of technological change in society is happening so much faster. And I come to people and I use this example because I happen to know what in the States better. So in the United States, there are approximately 3 million people who make a living driving a truck. And they are part of a union called the Teamsters, which is a pretty big, powerful union. Okay, we all see right now what's happening in terms of autonomous vehicles. Trucks is a very important thing for companies that want to reduce costs by creating trucks that run by themselves and drive by themselves. Well, when that is actually fully functional, what's going to happen to those 3 million people who make a living driving a truck? And it's an interesting question because you'll hear people say things like, well, we'll retrain them and we'll retrain them for new jobs. It's a nice thing to say, and I will say to somebody, so let me get this straight now. You got a 50-year-old person who makes a nice middle-class, upper-middle-class lifestyle driving a truck, and you're now going to train him to do what? How are you going to train? We can train him. Oh, we'll train him to be a developer. Well, before you do that, you may want to know that generative AI is creating coding on its own. So you may want to watch out for that one. And I just don't see the 50-year-old who's going to be learning to be a coder, okay? This is a real big problem. Now, in the past, we'll have the people say, look, technology changes they eliminate some jobs, but they create new jobs. And nobody has ever been right in saying all the jobs are going to disappear. The people who've been saying, no, the new technology will create new jobs and there'll be more jobs than there were in the past. They have been the right, historically, absolutely correct. Now, is it going to be different this time where the technology this is the time where the technology and you don't get more new jobs or not? I don't know. And I kind of would side with the people who say, no, there'll be new jobs and be fine. It's fine in the aggregate, but the problem is how do we handle the individual? And that is the job of government. That is the job of the society to figure out how can we develop a process so the people who are being hurt by these technological changes are somehow helped in a way that is not as devastating as it would be if we didn't have any programs or way to do it. Because what you'll end up with, if you have too much of that kind of change, you can end up with a societal disruption. People don't like it when things the way they thought the world was going to go, and now it's not going that way, they can get very angry. And in democracies, generally you start voting for certain things because you're fearful or you're threatened or you're not happy. In places that aren't democracies, maybe there's violence or revolution, et cetera. So I think it's very important that with these kind of changes happening, that we are very thoughtful about the right processes and how to go forward and what sort of, let's call them safety nets that help protect the people who are going to be hurt the most.
I mean, but I totally understand your answer, but I extract from that answer that it could be that also at booking, the workforce is going to at least shift and change, and there might be reductions in some areas and new guys or new colleagues in other areas, but there might, obviously it's a very...
No, of course. I'm open and I'm honest about this, and we made an announcement last year that we are having what we call our Fit for Future program, which has a lot of changes to make us more agile, to make us more productive. Things as simple as, well, we don't need as many offices now because we have people working from home at times, so we don't need that. But one of the things also is, sadly, unfortunately, some jobs are going to be eliminated because of technological changes. We just don't need them, whatever there. There's a reason on that, et cetera. And so we can then invest in new areas for new things we need to do. And I talked to our staff, I talked to our employees about this. We had a town hall recently about this. And I say, look, this is unfortunate. This is, I understand it. Look, I've lost a job and it's a terrible, terrible thing. But the fact is, as a group, as an organization, to survive, to thrive, is not that different than a biological unit. In Darwinian survival requires adapting to changes in the environment. Those who cannot adapt do not survive. And I need to have an organization that will survive. Well, I've been here 25 years. I want us to be incredibly successful for the next 25 years. And that means making hard choices.
Last question. I see you here and you're wearing a t-shirt and you look ripped. So you must work out quite a bit. What's the best hotel gym that you've come across with all your traveling?
There are some really nice ones, but here's the thing. You don't need a gym. You don't need a gym at all. In fact, most of the exercise I do a lot of stuff that's just body weight. And there are a lot of hotels in Europe that don't have gyms. Okay,
I know.
But all you really need is a space for your body, and that's every room has that. And by the way, there's outside where you can go running, or if you can't run, you can walk. Okay? There are so many ways to do it, and I've never had a personal trainer ever in my life, when probably I do a lot of things that are wrong, that a personal trainer or somebody would look at me and say, oh my God, you're going to kill yourself, you're going to hurt yourself, don't do that. But the fact is, anybody can be in shape if you're disciplined and you try. And I tell you, one of the things I try and do every single day, including today. I mean, we're starting up early today. I woke up early. I was up at 5 o'clock this morning. First thing I do, brush my teeth. Second thing I do, go out and work out.
Wow. In your hotel room. So you don't go to the gym?
Actually, the hotel I was at right now, and I'll say it, why not? So I was staying at the Doubletree, which is near our office. It's a 5-minute walk. I like it. It's a fine hotel. They do have a gym there. There are only 2 treadmills. So being there early got part of the reason to wake up at 5 so I could actually get it, because it was cold and rainy this morning. What a surprise. I'm in Amsterdam, shock. It's February and it's cold and raining. And I didn't want to run outside. So I wanted to get that treadmill this morning. So I did.
I mean, the one improvement that I'd have for booking and for hotels in general is, I mean, I sometimes book hotels in order to find a gym there, or one thing that influenced my decision is the hotel gym, and then you see, okay, it has a gym, and then you go and book the hotel, you go there and you see the gym and you're disappointed. Usually it's just 2 treadmills and very tiny room, and I like to do pull-ups. This is my one thing, pull-ups. And there needs to be a box where I can check pull-up bar. Just a small, a pull-up bar is a very easy to install application. It's not a machine, it's not expensive. No. And then if you have a pull-up bar, it's 5 centimeters below the ceiling. So you can't even do a pull-up, because then you're going to hit your head. So
I know the feeling. I got some suggestions for it. Okay, here are a couple suggestions. Okay, first thing, absolutely understand because I like to do pull-ups too. Okay, but there are other things. First of all, I always carry my bag a band. So you can take a band with it, and while you won't be able to do pull-ups, you can always be able to do a lat pull down with your band.
Okay,
so off the wall. Okay, 1. 2. In your hotel room, generally there'll be at the top a molding. Like if you go in the bathroom, there's a molding. Okay, above the thing. You can right there. You can put your fingers in there, and you can pull up right there.
Oh wow!
Okay, you don't need a bar. You don't need a foot. Just put your fingertips on that molding, and you can pull up. Do that. Okay. Also, I agree with you. The places they have a pull up thing, and you hit your head against the top thing. That is annoying. But okay, so do it really slow. And really slow and stop, and then just do real slow, going down. And that's it too. And if worse comes where you got nothing else, just do a hang. Just put it somewhere and just hang. Take your feet.
Okay, I get it. You're an amazing pragmatist and improviser, and that's so. Thank you very much for that. Thank you for being on the podcast, Glenn. Thank you very much.
Nope, thank you very much. Very enjoyable. And maybe we'll get together. We'll work out one morning, okay?
Perfect. Yeah. At some point, maybe we can bring you here to Hamburg for a festival, or I'll meet you in Amsterdam.
I'd love to do that. That'd be great.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Let's go!